Today I got physical media tips and tricks and a bunch of things that I want to cover and go over. And I don't sell a lot of stuff, but when I do, I definitely use eBay. And I've learned a few things, and then I've bought a ton of used media off of eBay. And I've had good experiences and I've had bad experiences. And I've kept a lot of my bad experiences because either it was the only movie available or it was a hard to find movie, and I'd rather have a damaged cover or damaged case in a working, functioning movie than not have one at all. And so as I dive into this, the very first thing I want to talk about is packaging and how people can, get away with just doing it as cheaply as possible, throwing it in a padded envelope and getting this. Well, this movie here was sent to me in a padded envelope, but so obviously in shipping, this stuff gets thrown around, tossed around. My mailman right now, if he was to come, I would definitely hear him because he throws the packages from the front, sidewalk there to my porch.
I have a package for you.
Sounds broken.
Most likely, sir. I'll bet it was something nice, though.
This stuff, once it leaves your hands, you might take care of it nicely, but it gets tossed around, thrown around. Big stuff falls on top of it all the time, and this happened with this one specifically. This came in a padded envelope, but it was crushed. This whole corner here, and then the paper was sliced down the side. And now this is a out-of-print movie. At the time, there was only this one listing, and it was kind of on the pricier side, and any of the other ones that were selling around that time were also on the pricier side, but it definitely split right here, and I could print off a new one, but having a pricier out of print edition, it's nice to have everything original and mint the way you purchased it. And then after that, when I had the conversation with the seller, they said, send it back, I'll give you a full refund. Well, then I'd be without the movie, and that was the whole point of buying it in the first place. So it's kind of frustrating, and then I waited for other ones to pop up, and they were always very expensive and way more than I paid for this. Now, eventually a 4K came out, and I could have upgraded, and since that 4K came out, since then, this version of the movie, quite a few of them have popped up at the definitely cheaper price tag, so I can easily replace it now just by waiting. But it is one of those things, at the time it was extremely frustrating, and it could have been avoided if this was thrown in a box. And now the argument always goes, they do it because it's cheap as possible, and you could make more money by sending it in those padded envelopes. It's going to cost more to ship this out, but putting this in just a simple box with some paper, it's pretty much secure. Even if something falls on it, it's going to be safe. You can pad the other side as well and just fill this up. Now, what I suggest is to put it in the box, tape this off, weigh it, measure it, put that information into eBay as you're going to sell this off, and then as the buyer's going to look at this, that's already going to be right there. It's going to cost X amount of dollars to ship this to your address, and then so now the buyer's paying that, and you put it on the buyer. It's one extra step for the eBay reseller, but it's one of those things that are going to create a lot less hassle and returns and other issues. And I've gotten some good experiences this way and some bad experiences. A lot of bad stuff. One of the other things is, like this movie right here, it came in and the disc was loose because there was no anything protecting the disc or stopping the disc. Now there's several ways you could do that. You could actually come over here, and this, I see this a lot. You can take a napkin, a paper towel, just a piece of paper. Something like this is usually just enough to crinkle this up a little bit. Put this right on top of the spindle right there. You don't want to have too much because you don't want to bow anything or break anything, but just having it right there, one, it keeps it in place and it stops it from being dislodged. So that happens all the time. I've seen people put a little piece of the bubble, the plastic bubble wrap in here. I've seen people put a little, cut out a little thin piece of foam if they've had that and put that in here. So anything to stop that disc from being dislodged. But if you are an eBay reseller, you can pick up one of these things, a whole box of 100 of these or whatever. These are just those simple thin disc holders. This one came to me recently, and this is an amazing idea because the disc was in here, and then when I open it up, this just fits in here very nicely, clips under the clips, so then that way at no point is this being damaged and then the disc is in that paper, not getting scratched, not being, you know, tossed around the entire trip. That's something you can pick up pretty cheap. The cost of these little things, you can even add it into the cost of whatever you're selling this for to justify it. But also, if you are an eBay reseller, this also becomes a tax write-off. One of those things. Just ways to help prevent damages and loss during the shipping process and having issues with irritated customers and possible returns, loss of revenue. That's one thing. Another thing is eBay resellers don't always know what they have. They just see these, you know, prices online. I see them in the stores all the time. I go to the thrift store, I look for a movie, and they'll be lined up in the aisle. They'll have their phone out. They'll be scrolling through with the movies in their hand or under their arm or in a cart, and they're just scrolling through the actual movie. Some of them even have gone through to get apps that have barcodes that they just literally scan the barcode, and then it just pops up the eBay prices of what these are selling for. So they've definitely got more advanced, but this movie here sells for a ton of money. And I found one, it didn't work. And then I found another one, that didn't work. And then I made a video, and then a bunch of people told me that their copies also didn't work. This movie has some kind of issue with it, however it was made, the glue's coming apart, there's something wrong with it, there's some kind of defect that this movie used to work, and now it doesn't work in a very large scale, it seems like. And eBay resellers have no idea. They don't watch this stuff. They go to the store, they find it, they buy it, and then they flip it. And so now you have customers that are buying this stuff and spending a lot of money, and then you have that hassle of trying to send things back or any issues, especially when most eBay resellers say no returns on their page. Now, granted, if it doesn't work, more than likely you're going to be able to get your money back, but it's just a hassle. So not knowing what you're buying, the thing is, a lot of times eBay resellers have no idea what they're selling. So something to take into account. And if you do get like a bad disc like that, the lesson I learned is before I buy another one, check and see if there's a known issue. Now with this one specifically, it wouldn't have helped because it seems like I was the first, because there was no Reddit information on this, there was nobody talking about it, and it wasn't until I made my video that other people were trying their copies and realizing that it went bad. So that's something to note. Another thing is this. This is something that these two movies here, actually, they had bigger price tags. I don't remember exactly what they were, but the bigger price tags on eBay, and this one here is a Sony title and this one's a Fox title. This one had the $20 to about $30 price range, I remember. So I went right to eBay and I found it for like $6. I got this copy $6 used. Even though the disc came dislodged, it still worked. There was no scratches on it. You know, it was kind of a frustrating thing, but for $6, the movie worked. I had a good time. This movie here was brand new sealed, and this one also, the disc did come dislodged, but it's one of those things that for the price, not a bad deal. There wasn't an issue, but it doesn't mean just because these two didn't have issues that it's not always going to have a problem. There have been issues where I have gotten stuff that's all scratched up or marred up. Saving money is shopping around. So this movie here, I picked it up. I don't remember the exact price it was on Amazon, so I ended up going eBay route, about a couple dollars for this, so I saved a ton of money. Same for this one. Now this one here, I think it was going for like 20 bucks brand new on eBay or Amazon, but eBay had a price here, it was $12, so it's a savings of $8. It works, it's great. I like the cover art on this. This is the Canadian version. The American version was just solid white, but overall, you can save a ton of money buying used media. Most people try to have everything new. You don't have to have everything new, but when you are looking for the used stuff, the best practice is to have conversation. Like through these things, not everybody's going to treat the media or these movies the way you are going to as a collector, and you can ask for more pictures. You can ask for stuff if you're going to spend a lot of money. Now if this movie here is $6, you know, it's probably more hassle for the seller to even bother, but if this movie was $50, $60, $100, more than likely they're going to help you out and send some more pictures of it, because on the other side of the disc, if this was originally scratched to heck and then you know, sent off to one of those resurfacers, you're going to find some like residue, some white, like almost like toothpaste looking like chemical, like right here in the center ring. I've seen that a few times, and that just indicates that it was a mistreated disc and it was resurfaced. that might bother you. It might not bother you. It does end up letting the disc work if it was a non-working disc. But if you're going to spend something like $50, $60, $100 or more on one of these like out of print, hard to find, and now this one never was. But if you were to do that, it is kind of a frustrating thing. So as a collector, you know, it's just something to ask those extra questions. It's good to note. It's something that I had to learn the hard way because, you know, I treat my stuff a certain way, and then I expect to, you know, if I ever were to sell something, I also package it and treat it a certain way. And I've gotten stuff sent to me in, you know, something was one time wrapped up in a t-shirt and stuck in one of these like little simple thin plastic bags, and then it was duct taped to heck, and it was sent media mail. And so then the post office opened it because it didn't feel right, and then they opened it and they sent it back, and then it came to me. It ended up being fine, but it was just the fact that not everybody does things, you know, the right way or the way that you probably would think that they would, especially being a collector. Most of the people selling this stuff are never going to collect it. They go it, they find it, they sell it because they're in it for profit. Don't just buy something and take their word for it because somebody's near mint or good or very good. You know, their ranking might not be what yours is. And so when you get it in and it says near mint and something like this, now I did buy this one brand new, but I know that most people here would sell this near mint because it's a steelbook that fetches for about $40 for new. So they're going to ask like $30, $35. Say that it's near mint. When you open it up, now this brand new, when it shipped to me, even in this protective plastic, had these two little tiny dents in here. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. So there's one there, and there's one right there. So those two little dents, they're hidden by this plastic, and then if this was sealed, they're hidden even more. And so that's a question that, you know, even if you asked it and you're like, hey, are there any dents or there's anything wrong with it, they're going to tell you no. You're going to get it, you're going to open it, and then you're going to have that conversation. Well, once I opened it, it was dinged. Are they going to believe you? Are they going to know that they were there? I wouldn't. I didn't. When I got this brand new myself from a store, I had no idea that it was damaged and dinged until I opened it. So it's one of those things, you never know what you're going to get. And eBay, the best possible thing is ask for more questions. If they're showing one image on a used item, they're not showing you the disc. Potentially it could have been all scratched up and then sent off to one of those resurfacers where they sand the disc and then they put a chemical on it and then they rebuffer it. It's fine, it'll probably work, but if you're spending $50, $60, $100 on something like this, it kind of sucks if you got something that was resurfaced. And almost always when I have, the residue from the chemical is still in the center, so you know it's there. It kind of looks like a little white, like toothpaste. So be careful. Get, you know, bid on something that you know what you're getting. Ask more questions. Ask for more pictures if they, you know, have that. If it's something they're selling for like $5 or $6, more than likely they're not going to go above and beyond. But if it's something $50, $60, $100, you know, at a higher price point for some of this stuff, more than likely they're going to be more than accommodating. If they ignore you, then move on and get something else, or take the chance and know that potentially you could get somebody that was just trying to dump something off and get the most amount of money out of it. A lot of times when I upgrade movies, especially in a boutique label or something I know is probably out of print, I usually double check. And I'm like, if this is selling online for $100, I'm not going to trade it into the used bookstore for $2 or $3, and hopefully maybe I'll trade it in towards a new Blu-ray. So these ones here were upgrades. They're movies I like, but because they have the boutique label on them, 100%, these would get snatched up immediately by any of the resellers. They just see that and they don't care what the price is. They're going to grab these. And so I thought, why don't I just put them on eBay myself? But then I was like, why don't I just trade them in? So I'm saving these. I'm going to do like a pen pal trade, movie trade, send these to a friend or something. So I've done that. But the reason I even pulled these off in the first place is knowing that they could potentially be worth more money than the $2 or $3 I was going to get for a trade, or $5, depending on what it is, where you go. But this movie right here specifically is a Twilight Time film. I don't think this one's fetching for a ton of money, but because there are Twilight Time film collectors, this movie here I upgraded. I got the indicator version, so it's not something that is completely out of print where you can't get this movie anymore. but the fact that it's Twilight Time and it's something that, you know, there are Twilight Time collectors and somebody that would love to have this. So this would go on eBay immediately and sell for a ton of money. So I was like, it's got to go to a good home, and that's why I pulled it aside. But if I didn't care about any of that stuff, I would just sell it. Just put it online and sell it. Know that you have it. Trading it in would be a dumb decision because you're gonna lose money. And even if you sold it for less than what the resellers are selling it more than the $2 or $3 that the trade is going to get, that's just the better way to go. All right, merch link is always down below. Let me know about your experience through buying and selling physical media. Check out this video right here, and remember to watch a movie today, and I'll catch you guys next time.